Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to quickly introduce a topic called properties. So first, let me just demo this class. It's called human, and every human has a first, last name, and age. Very straightforward. All three are set in init, and there's no methods. Let's say that I make a human called Jane, and Jane is equal to human, and her name is Jane. Let me capitalize that correctly. And her last name is Goodall, which I think has two L's. And I don't know how old she is. She's 60 something. Let's just say 50 because I don't want to upset anyone. And that's great. You know, I can do things like print Jane.age, but I could also cause problems potentially by setting age, Jane.age is now equal to -100. There's nothing stopping me from doing this. And we established that when we talked about class attributes and class methods. And we saw, we had the type for pet, the species thing that we'd set up, and someone could go around it like this. If we don't want age to be negative, we could do something in here where we check if age is greater than or equal to 0, self.age equals age, else self.age equals 0, right? And that's always going to set, like if we set Jane's age to be -9 here, and then I print her age, let's run that. We get 0. So we're setting it to 0. And this is not necessarily the best way of doing this. We could use max and take whatever's larger between age and 0, but let's just leave it at this. The problem that properties can help us solve is that a user can just directly, or code can directly change age. We don't really have any control over that. What we can do is make use of something called a property. And I'm going to show you a bunch of new syntax first, and it's going to change things a little bit. So first of all, I'm actually going to rename this here, self.age, to be self._age. And this is our way of trying to signify to other developers, this is private for this class. It doesn't actually mean anything, as we've already mentioned, but it signifies this is for internal use in this class. So you shouldn't be calling jane._age. Now what we're going to do is set up a way of accessing age and changing _age. And we've already seen this. We could define a method called def get age, and then another one called def set age, like this. And get age is really simple, just return self._age. And then set age, we need to take in a new age. And then we'll just set self._age equals new age. But we could do a little check like this. If new age is greater than or equal to 0, self._age equals new age. Else, let's just set it to be 0 again. Okay, so this is what we know how to do this. This is nothing new. This is not involving properties. If I now try and print jane.age, there's a problem. There's nothing called age, as we know. There's only _age. So what we would use instead is jane.getAge, and it's a method that we have to call. And if we do it now, we should get 0. And if we wanted to change the age, let's do a set age, and set age to be 45, and then print age again. This is sort of the interface we've set up. You use get age to get the value of _age. Again, a developer could just call _age, but the whole idea is that they're not supposed to. They're supposed to respect that. So they go through get age and set age. And does this work? Yes, 0, and then 45. This is where properties come in. So I'm actually going to comment this out, and I'm going to type some new code. It looks like this. Okay, so here's the first part. This acts as a getter, like we had here with getAge. But what's cool about this, so I have to write @property. This is what's known as a decorator. We have an entire section on decorators later, but it's a decorator that alters how this function works. And this method is called age. And what we've done is actually set up a property called age, where you don't actually call this method. You don't have to call it age with parentheses. I can now do this, print jane.age, as if it was an attribute on Jane, like I did with earlier when we had self.age, but we're never actually setting self.age anywhere at all. We're working with self._age, but this little bit of magic makes this work. So now we get 0, and if we change this to be, 34, it's working. So what's happening is this @property allows us, it takes the name of this method. So whatever this is called, we would then call down here. And I don't need parens, even though it's a method here. So it's really useful as a getter, but even more so, you could say, as a setter. And this is the syntax for a setter. We reference @age.setter as the decorator, and then we define another method called age. But this time it takes in a new value. Let's just call it value. And then this is where we would do this sort of a check. We would do if, and instead of new age, we'll call it value. If value is positive, self._age is equal to the new value. Else, set it to 0. Or we could even raise a value error. Age can't be negative. Okay, so with these two here, they're both called age, two methods. This one takes in a new value. So with what we have now, we've set up a setter for age so that I can now do Jane.age equals 20. And then if I print Jane.age again afterwards, we should see 34 and then 20. And there we go. So what's cool about this is that we don't have to go through this route of get age and set age, defining those methods where we actually call them with parens like we did here. Instead, we've set up this property and we can just access directly Jane.age, even though age is really a proxy for _age internally. And now if I try and change age to be -100, it prevents me from changing age. So I kind of have this validation in there at this point. Some people would actually say this is a bit unpythonic. And to wrap that up, we've got @property, and then whatever we put below it is going to be the name of that property. So age is what we had here. If I called this rage, both of these need to be rage as well as this. And then down here, I'd access Jane.rage. And Jane.rage would be accessing and manipulating _age. So let me show one more. We could make a property for, get rid of the rage there, full name. So we could do @property def full name self. And then we could just have it return self.first. Let's do an F string like this. Self.first space self.last. And now, instead of calling a method full name, I can just call print Jane.fullname. And it's a property. Let's see what we get. Oh, well, this error is messing things up. We're not getting to that point. Let's try one more time. There we go. Full name is Jane Goodall. And we could add a setter. I will say this is kind of sketchy to do it this way, in my opinion. We would do @fullname.setter, and then we define def full name self, and then let's just call this value. Let's just call this name. So a user could specify Jane.fullname is now equal to Tim Minchin or something like that. And the reason that I don't really like this is that this would have side effects because we're going to reassign first and last based off of this. So it would look something like this. We would do self.first, comma, self.last equals name.split on a space, plist. There we go, split on a space. So name would be something like this. We split it in half on this, well, not exactly in half. We split it on the space. This is going to be assigned to self.first. This is assigned to self.last. Like I said, this is kind of sketchy because you're setting this property full name and it's changing two other attributes. And I don't know. I wouldn't do this personally, but I'm putting it in here just as an example that it does work. So if we did Jane.fullname as Tim Minchin, let's do a print Jane.dict, dunderdict, and print that out. You can see what the actual values are. We've got first is now Tim, last is now Minchin, _age is 20. So full name is not in here. Full name is a property we set up that is interacting with first and last, just like age is not in there either, only _age is. It's an interface that we've created to interact with these. Like I said, this may be not the best example, but I just wanted to show you two full properties that both have a getter and a setter. And the syntax, @property, then the name of the property, and then you return whatever value you want to be returned. Then we do the name of the property with an @setter, and then a method with the exact same name. And this one takes in a new value, and then we can do some sort of validation or check something, and then we update whatever we want in here. In our case, we're working with _age, and we did the same thing down here for full name. So those are properties. It's just a nice bit of syntactic sugar so that we can access things like jane.age instead of having to do jane.getAge like we had up here. But always remember that a user could just type jane._age and circumvent all of this. So it all comes down to developers respecting what code and what's been written by other developers. Otherwise, these properties are meaningless if we can just go around them. And that's the point. That's how Python is set up without having private methods or private attributes. It just comes down to following conventions. Anyway, that's properties.